"Who's she aiming at?" one of the SEALs muttered, stifling a laugh as the woman settled behind the massive sniper rifle. At 800 meters the target blurred under the desert sun, nothing more than a painted silhouette against a cracked wooden stand. She adjusted her cheek weld, slow, deliberate. The men around her shook their heads. "That's cute," another whispered. "She probably thinks she's in a movie." The laughter rippled through the group. They were battle-hardened operators, veterans of firefights where inches meant life or death. To them, she was an outsider, a woman brought in under a joint operations experiment. A sniper, maybe on paper, but to their eyes, she was a distraction, with a rifle too heavy for her shoulders. The bolt slid forward with a clean metallic click. Her finger rested against the trigger. Feather light. Breath in. Hold. A pause so long it almost made the men restless. Breath out. A single crack split the air. The target flinched, jerked backward, then stilled. Bullseye. The smirks faded, but only slightly. "One lucky shot," they said. "Anybody can hit at 800 with that setup." What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that this wasn't the distance she was here to prove. Her name was Staff Sergeant Alexandra Kane, though most just called her Kane. She had no need for nicknames, no bravado, no swagger. While the men puffed their chests and swapped firefight stories, Kane lived in the silence between breaths. A sniper's world isn't built on adrenaline. It's built on patience, math, and a quietness most soldiers can't survive. And Kane had patience in abundance. Her journey there wasn't born out of ambition, it was survival. She grew up in the plains of Montana, the kind of place where the horizon stretched so far it dared you to measure it. Her father, a rancher and Vietnam vet, put a .22 rifle in her hands at 7 and told her, "The land is alive, and it'll test you. Respect it, or you'll miss everything it's trying to tell you." She learned wind by the way wheat bent, distance by the way sound carried, and timing by how long a deer would pause before bolting. Years later, when she enlisted, those lessons stayed sharper than any manual. Still, the military was never ready for her. She didn't fit the mold. During training, instructors dismissed her. During deployments, peers underestimated her. But the irony of war is that bullets don't care about gender, and neither does distance. What mattered was precision, and Kane had it. The test that would silence the laughter began not at 800 meters, but days later, across a barren ridge in Afghanistan. A joint mission, SEALs and her unit working together. Their task, support a village under threat from a Taliban commander known for brutality and cunning. Intel was shaky, but a source whispered that the commander would appear on the ridge to observe the fight, believing himself untouchable at such distances. "He'll be 3 clicks out, minimum," the intel officer warned. Most shook their heads. That kind of shot was near impossible, beyond near impossible. When the SEAL team gathered, Kane listened quietly as the men traded doubts. 3,400 meters? No rifle can touch that. Yeah, what's she gonna do, scare him with a glare? The laughter came again, but Kane only adjusted her pack, checked her rifle, and waited. At dawn, the ridgeline lit with orange haze. The Taliban fighters pushed into the village as predicted, shouting, firing wildly. But Kane wasn't looking at the skirmish. Her scope swept higher, toward the mountain lip, and there, like a ghost at the edge of the world, he appeared. A tall man flanked by bodyguards, standing with the arrogance of someone who believed himself beyond reach. Her spotter, a young corporal, saw him too. He glanced at the rangefinder and froze. "Ma'am, 3,400 meters. His voice cracked. That's out of range." "Not today," Kane whispered. She dialed her scope, making adjustments so fine they felt almost absurd. Wind, shifting left to right at 12 miles per hour. Temperature, thin air at altitude, Earth's rotation. Coriolis effect, barely but enough at this range. She calculated faster than most could read the numbers, her brain moving with the rhythm of the plains she grew up on. "Who's she aiming at?" A SEAL muttered again, this time nervous. The trigger was a whisper under her finger. She exhaled, slow. The world narrowed to one breath, one heartbeat. When the shot broke, it didn't feel like a shot. It felt like silence collapsing. The round traveled nearly 10 seconds, cutting across air currents, invisible to the men who didn't believe. Then, far on the ridge, the commander staggered, a red bloom on his chest. His body crumpled into the dust, his guards scattering in shock. Silence. Absolute silence. The SEALs stared. One dropped his binoculars. Another muttered, "Holy," but the words stuck in his throat. The kill was confirmed. A record shot. 3,400 meters. No lucky break. No fluke. Precision. Science. Patience. In the aftermath, nobody laughed at Kane again. The report spread quietly, whispered among units, though never splashed in headlines. Some kills aren't meant for glory, they're meant for survival. Still, among those who knew, her name carried weight. And Kane. She packed her rifle, stood and walked back toward the dust without a word. She didn't need one. Because respect, like distance, isn't measured in noise, it's measured in silence, the kind that follows after you've done what nobody else could. That day, the men learned something they never forgot. Sometimes the deadliest shot comes not from the loudest soldier, but from the one they least expected. And long after, whenever someone doubted her, all it took was a whisper through the ranks, "Remember the ridge," and the laughter never came again.